It's the combination of the different talents that you put them together, you come out with this strange element. It's like Genesis, and no one can control it.
The band were very unusual, and they very much presented it as a songwriters collective.
When we first started, we definitely just wanted to be songwriters, and I had no desire really to be on stage.
You know, it's like a brand name, you know, in a way. It's a name that we've got given ourselves a long time ago, but really it's just whatever we do.
And we were fumbling around in a very naive way, but I think when we touch something real.
We like audiences to sit down and listen to us.
Oh, yes, that's right.
A flower.
I mean, actually, the first time the earnings really jumped was when Peter Gabriel started wearing hats and masks.
It was shocking in those days, and that was a buzz, you know. And I think the band, you know, got to hate all that.
It was just annoying, you know, because I mean, you do a great gig, and if you played well, nobody seemed to notice.
If you're the front man for a band, you get to be the main spokesman, and that tends to create quite a lot of resentments.
We had all agreed to stay together, that we were sort of determined to show people that it was a band, it wasn't Pete's backing band, you know. I've always felt the singer was the cheapest gig in the band, because all they had to do was look good and wiggle their bum. I got the job because we couldn't find anybody else.
He had his own approach to the audience, but they sort of seemed to like him, you know, which was curious, you know.
And at number 12, here they are. It's Genesis, Abacab.
We think of ourselves as songwriters that can do a bit of that, a bit of this. To other people, it's Genesis, and Genesis has become this sacred cow that does what it does and mustn't do anything else. You haven't hit singles now, you're writing short songs. You know, why have you changed? Do you still wear the same kind of clothes? No, you know, you change, you grow up, and that is reflected in what we are writing.
Obviously, we had these few tracks that really did make us seem like, you know, a pop band. And it's not necessarily the work I'm proudest of, but it is probably the stuff that we'll be remembered for.
There was a Genesis in '67. There was a Genesis in '72. There's a Genesis in '76.
We've been a little bit hard to define, I think. You know, I look back at the history, and we're talking about it now, and I think, God, did all that. The memories. So many.
To induct Genesis into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, from Phish, Trey Anastasio.
Before I ever heard Genesis play, I saw an album cover. It was 1977, and I was 13 years old. I came across an LP called Trespass. The cover had a pastoral painting by Paul Whitehead with a countryside, columns, a cupid, and running through the scene was an unusually placed thin line. When you turn the cover over, you realize that this line was actually a knife gash being cut through the canvas. I fell in love with that record, and for me, that cover perfectly captures the spirit of this band. Rebellious, restless, and constantly striving for something more than the obvious. Every musical rule and boundary was questioned and broken. It's impossible to overstate what a huge impact this band and this musical philosophy had on me as a young musician. And I'm forever in their debt. So thank you, guys. That inclination to stick the knife in the painting, that urge to break down every musical barrier, never diminished for Genesis. It was obvious in the early years, and though more subtle, it was still evident as the band evolved through its different incarnations. What else but rebelliousness, but quiet audacity could prompt a band to write a song in 13/4 time and turn it into one of their first major hit singles. And that hit was Turn It On Again, by the way. I bet a lot of you here tonight walk down the street humming along in 13/4 time without ever knowing it. Mm-hmm. My favorite track on Trespass is Stagnation, and I'll tell you why. You can hear the lightning strike on that song. You can hear the magic sound of a whole band becoming greater than its members. And that's what this Hall of Fame is all about. It starts off with Anthony Phillips playing a gorgeous 7-note guitar melody. And his playing was so critical for creating the initial Genesis roadmap. You hear Peter Gabriel enter with his shimmering vocals and so longing. And there you are at the water's edge that he's describing. And then the band joins in, creating an oral painting to support the lyrics. John Mayhew taps on the bell of the cymbal, and you can see drops of water falling into a crystal pond. Finally, everything lets loose, everybody jumps on the melody, and you can feel the explosion of energy. And by the end, Genesis has constructed an entire world, an alternate reality that I could see in my head. That's the power of the best music. 3 years after Trespass, Genesis released Selling England by the Pound. That album is without question my all-time favorite Genesis album. The addition of Phil Collins and Steve Hackett brought, it brought both a vigor and a melodic sense that propelled them into another realm. All 5 members on that record, all 5 members of the band play with such confidence and such beauty. On Dancing with the Moonlit Night, Steve Hackett delivers some of the first rock recordings of both finger tapping and sweep picking, half a decade before Eddie Van Halen released Eruption. Everywhere you turn is melody. It's in Mike Rutherford's bass playing, it's in Tony Banks' keyboards, in an era when most rock keyboarding was just padding. And then finally, you have Phil Collins. On this record, Phil plays, and actually all through his career, he played the most tuneful and most fluid drumming you'll ever hear. Phil's drums are the only thing that could hold these disparate elements together. More than just glue, his rhythms are the invitation into the song. I think that the pop qualities that emerged later in Phil Collins' career were the very same qualities that made him such a great drummer. Like Ringo Starr and Stuart Copeland and other great pop drummers, he always seemed to be aware that the song came first. It's a very rare quality. As the years progressed, we found out, of course, that Phil is a soulful lead singer. And with him at the mic, Genesis leapt into the stratosphere with a canon of pop hits, including Misunderstanding, No Reply at All, That's All, Invisible Touch, and many others. When you're a musician and you break new ground, it resonates into the common consciousness. People absorb your creativity, sometimes without even knowing it. When I hear Radiohead's Kid A with its odd time signatures and spacious visual arrangements, I hear Genesis. I hear Genesis and the sonic islands that My Bloody Valentine placed between their songs. It's interesting to me that Brian Eno, before he produced U2, before he produced Talking Heads, Remain in Light, spent who knows how many hours a day sitting with Genesis producing The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. 99% of the people who played prog rock lost their songs to their egos. Ideally, the point of music is community, not the player. Musicians are simply channels to link the audience to the music and to each other. Genesis understood that always. I'm guessing that most people in this room have never listened to Selling England by the Pound. You cannot buy the greatest hits record and understand what I'm talking about. But there are so many people that I'm speaking for tonight who know exactly what I'm talking about. I have been a true fan of this band my whole life, from a very young age. And for those people that I'm talking about, and for myself, this is our moment. And of course, Tony, Michael, Peter, Phil, and Steve, it's yours. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Quiet Rebels of Genesis into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much, Trey. Thank you, Fish. What a great version, much better than we used to do it. As you see, Peter's not with us tonight, and he wanted me to say his apologies. He has a very legitimate, genuine excuse. He's actually starting a tour, him and an orchestra, and he's rehearsing with the orchestra today, tomorrow, the next day. So he really couldn't make it, but he sent his love and thank you.
Right. So I'm the singer, current singer, and I get to do the dirty work. Yeah, Pete can't be here, but thank you, Trey. I mean, that was a really convincing argument. But this is, yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. There's a lot of people. It won't take long, I promise. But there are some people, a lot of people actually, that without them, apart from the fans, of course, we wouldn't be here. Starting at the beginning, Ed Goodgold, who was our very first manager here, he managed Shannon and I, and he managed to go around to every one of us individually and say how important we were without knowing the other person had been told the same thing. Great psychological management. Neil Bogart, Larry Harris, and Nancy Lewis from Casablanca, and then the wonderful Ahmet Ertegun, who was... Mika is here tonight. Ahmet, who really was our granddad and showed us the way. Neswi, of course, both of them gone, but Tun Sherim, Doug Morris, Perry Cooper, Bob Couse. Arthur, I don't know an Arthur. And I will try to be quick, but this is a big moment for us. Our agents, you know, Mike Farrell, who got us our first gig in New York, you know, is still trying to get us work. Ron Delsner down here, Howard Stein, you know, Larry Magid, the Belkins, Bill Graham, bless his heart, you know, all these people were working for us. Our road crew, our wonderful management, Tony Smith, who's been with us since 1485. And Tony Stratton Smith, of course, who was a charisma boss, who paid for us out of his own money because we weren't making any. And our families and our children, who are well represented here tonight. And also, I know I'm going on, I'm sorry, but this band has been in so many different guises, with Peter, with Steve, with Chester, with Steve, without Steve, with Chester, with Daryl, Chester Thompson, Daryl Sturmer, who for 30 years have been our, you know, and everybody that's decided that we should get this lovely award. It says Mike Rutherford here. Anyway, thank you very much.
I'd just like to thank everybody that voted for us, I guess. It's really great to be here with the guys. It's been a while for me, but it feels like yesterday. And I really love so many of those albums that we did do at the time. I'm very glad that Phil mentioned Tony Stratton Smith because, of course, he's no longer with us in the flesh. I'm sure he's here in spirit. So thank you very much, Tony, for believing in a bunch of hairy young guys at one time. I'd also like to thank Mr. Les Paul, who's no longer with us again, and Andre Segovia, two great guitarists who died at the ripe old age of 94. So I've got a while to go. Thank you very much, everybody. It's really great to be here. See you in June and July, touring.